Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. This channel offers elementary art lessons taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I look forward to virtually creating with you. There are new lessons posted weekly. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss a single one. So go grab your art supplies and your thinking caps and let's begin. All right, second grade artists, let's get those Ladybug pop art pictures back out from last week and make sure that you have traced all of your pencil lines with crayon before we start today. So today we're going to be using some watercolor paints. Again, if you don't have watercolor paints, no big deal. You can always use markers and paint with markers like we've done before, where you trace around the edges with markers and then just add some water to that and then it'll turn into paint. Or you could just simply color them. As long as you're using nice bright colors, you'll get the same effect that we're getting here. All right, so with our watercolor paints, what I'd like for you to do is paint the entire inside of your ladybug with one color. Then I'd like for you to choose a color that's right next to it in the watercolor tray and add it to that first color. So you can see on this first one, I painted with blue. Now I'm adding a little bit of purple to my blue to create a custom blue-violet color that's special for me. And then I'm going to use a little bit more of one of the colors, I'm using purple in this situation, to paint the dots on my ladybug's wings a little bit darker than my other colors. There we go. Now I'm going to rinse out my brush and repeat those same steps on the other three. Choose a color, then choose a color that's next to it in the watercolor tray, paint the two together, make the darker spots, and then move on to the next one. And I'll repeat that on all four of my ladybugs. A little watercolor tip. You want to make sure that you are using nice watery paints. You never want your watercolor paints to dry shiny and sticky. If you do, then you're not using the watercolors correctly. So you always want to make sure you add water to your paints to make sure they're nice and watery and that they aren't drying sticky and shiny. Okay, so I noticed something happening on this ladybug right here. I noticed that my blue spots were leaking out into the purpley color of the ladybug. So to remedy that, I'm going to rinse out my paintbrush, scrape the water off or dry it a little bit by brushing it on the newspaper, and then use a kind of wet, kind of dry paintbrush to paint away the little leaks that were coming into the rest of the ladybug. But the good news is there was already that color in the ladybug, so I just have to blend it in. The trick is to use a kind of wet, kind of dry paintbrush to kind of clean up the spilling of the one color to the next space. Okay, once all ladybugs are complete, you want to give your painting a few moments to dry. So step away, go do something, take a walk, do 10 jumping jacks, and then when you're ready, come on back. And then you're going to be painting the backgrounds. And for the backgrounds, I want you to use a color that you haven't used yet at all in that particular space. So in this space, I traced with some green and some pink, and I painted with yellow and green, so I'm painting with some red. And the red is fun because the red, if you add a lot of water to it, it kind of has a pinkish look, and if you add a lot of paint to it, it has a darker red look. So it's kind of fun that you can alter the colors like that too. All right, so you're going to paint the backgrounds one solid color, no color mixing on the background. For the background, we're going to use just one solid color, and you can go right over those little ladybug legs because since we traced them in crayon, the paint won't cover them up. They'll still be nice and dark just as they were before. Okay, I'm going to pause it here for just a moment. Do you see that dark purple on the right side of this space right there? That is way too much paint. If I were to let that dry, it would dry sticky, and it's not good to use that much watercolor paint in one spot. So what I'm going to do to solve that problem is I'm going to add just some water to my paintbrush, and I'm going to spread out that dark paint. So instead of getting more paint from my watercolor paint tray, I'm just going to pick up some of the paint that is too dark in that one space and move it to another space on my painting. So by just using some water, I can move that over and use it to finish painting the rest of that one space. Alright, and then all you need to do is let this painting dry and it's all finished. A fantastic example of pop art. Andy Warhol would surely be proud of us. So, I hope you had a great time painting your Ladybug pop art painting. I hope you join me back here next time at The Heart of a Viking. HOB artists, don't forget to hop on over to Art Sonia to upload a photograph of your piece of artwork to your art portfolio. I can't wait to see it.